Happy 2019, everyone, and welcome to the Shelf Addiction Podcast. This is the very first podcast episode of the new year, and as always, I am your host, Tamara Ford, and I want to talk a bit about goal setting today. So I'm going to be talking about goal setting for reading. If you like what I do here and would like to show your support to this podcast, please consider joining my exclusive Patreon page. Gaining your support means the world to me, and it will really help push this podcast even further in 2019. As a patron, you'll have early access to Shelf Bites, bonus content, and more. Visit shelfaddiction.com/support to sign up. I would love to hear your thoughts on today's episode, and if you'd like to share with me one of your reading goals for 2019, or just talk books in general, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shelf Addiction. All right, guys, let's jump into this. So it is that time of year. Every year around the 1st, we all talk about New Year's resolutions and goals. Every year we hear people talk about how much weight they want to lose, how much they want to work out, things that they want to achieve as far as their relationships, their job, travel, etc. The list goes on and on. But let's not forget about our mental health, guys, our brains. That's why it's important to talk about reading goals for ourselves as well. For me, as a book lover, it's natural for me to set reading goals. And if you're listening to this podcast, I will take a small assumption and assume that you like reading as well. And I am not of the school of setting a whole bunch of different challenges for myself as far as reading. I used to, but I found it stressful. And after a while, I would give up, or it would just be more trouble than it was worth. I'm going to share with you what my reading goals are for 2019. And of course, I do have a baseline of a standard books per year goal, which is set every single year in Goodreads. I always place that number a little differently every year, but it usually ranges between 52 and 62 books a year, depending on what my goal is for that year and what I feel I'm able to accomplish. For 2019, I have set my goal at 62 books this year, and last year I finished at 63. So I have a feeling this is going to be a really busy, awesomely amazing year for me. I plan on being very busy doing lots of things for the podcast, for the blog, personally, professionally, and I don't want to set that goal too high because I don't want to feel like it's going to be too much of a challenge and then I won't reach it. But I also do want to make sure that I am pushing myself a little bit at the end there to meet the goal. So I obviously want it stretched, but not unattainable. So due to that, I like to always set reasonable goals, and I suggest that for you as well. And now don't get, distracted by people who have 300 books a year as a goal, or 200 books, or 150 books, or even 100 books. Different people have different lives. One person may have a lot of time to read. They may be a student. They may not work full time. I don't know. They just may not sleep. They may be an insomniac. I don't pretend to know how people are able to read so many books. Maybe it's their job to read books for a living. Let me tell you, if reading was my job, 40 hours a week, I would read a lot of books. So don't be, intimidated by that. Kudos to those that are able to read those kind of books every single year. I applaud you. That is amazing. But for those of you that don't, that are more my speed and read between 52 and 62-ish books a year, you should be completely happy with that. And if you are of those that read one book a month, you should be happy with that because there are so many people that don't read at all. So no matter what your goal is, be proud of that and know that you can attain it. That is why I believe in, again, reasonable goals. Don't set your goal at 200 books and you're not going to do it. It's just setting yourself up for failure, and that's just not a good look to kick off the new year, right? So to piggyback off of that goal, last year, I didn't post as many actual reviews as I wanted to on my blog nor on this podcast. And the longer that I podcast, the more passionate I feel about podcasting versus blogging. So for that matter, this year, I want to start posting book reviews here on the podcast. My book reviews are going to be spoiler free and they're going to be short and sweet. You'll know if I like this book, who I recommend it for, and what the rating is, and some of the high and the lows of the book. I am calling this feature Shelf Bite. And that's a little play off of words. Actually, my friend Nicola helped me think it up. And I always like the idea of small bites, like an appetizer, just a small bite of food. So a small bite of book review. But I'm spelling it B-Y-T-E, like a audio bite. Get it? Shelf bite? Oh, it's so cute, right? Tell me if you love the name. Well, if you'd like to check out my very first Shelf Bite, go ahead and check that episode out right now after you're finished listening to this episode because it's available. Today you get a 2-for-1. And you will hear these at least once a month, every month, maybe more. So get excited for spoiler-free, bite-size audiobook and book reviews. An additional goal that I have set for myself that is kind of an offset to that same goal is to incorporate nonfiction titles. I really want to do that this year. Every year I seem to read a few, but I want to read more. I have some, personal goals that I've set for myself, and I would like to make nonfiction books a part of that. So, here on Shelf Addiction, we have been 100% fiction until today. Until this month, January 2019. Now, don't get it twisted. You guys will still get all of the content that you love. All of the stuff is going to stay the same. It's just going to be a little addition. Only 12 episodes in a year. Once a month, I will be reading a nonfiction title, and I will be sharing it with you here on the podcast. It could be a memoir, a self-help. It could be pretty much anything that I want so that I know that I'm just going to get that education part of reading as well. I'm super excited about this, and I really want to make strides in a lot of areas, and I hope that some of these nonfiction titles will assist me in doing that, and I hope that you enjoy them as well. Again, this is a great way to hold myself accountable, and this feature is going to be called the Nonfiction Shelf. Again, don't worry guys, all of the fiction stuff that you love is going to remain. This is a small add-in, so you'll only hear the Nonfiction Shelf one time a month, and that's just going to be in addition to the regular scheduled programming. So get excited. I hope you love nonfiction titles as well. So again, starting this month, January 2019, I will incorporate a slice of nonfiction via its own shelf, hence the Nonfiction Shelf feature. Now that I've told you about my 2019 reading goals, I would love to hear what your reading goals are for 2019. As I mentioned earlier, I like to keep my reading goals reachable and simple. Many, many, many years ago, you would have found maybe 5 or more different reading challenges on my blog. No more. I'm not a fan of setting so many challenges, especially when most of us have lives and, not to belittle anyone that has a lot of challenges. Like I mentioned earlier, those who read a lot of books, to each his own. We all have our own life. We all have our own responsibilities. But for me, as a person with a full-time job, I podcast, I manage my blog, I have a family, all these other things that I have incorporated outside of reading makes it manageable for me to simplify instead of having 5, 6, 7, 8 more and more different reading challenges. If you love reading challenges, I say go for it. Do what you like, but maybe slim it down. Pick 1 or 2. Keep it stress-free. Make it attainable, but you want to stretch a little bit. So it's that balance again. So I would love to know if you are participating in any challenges. If you peruse the internet in the book community, you will find a lot of reading challenges out there for 2019. Definitely pick one up for yourself. They're really great fun, and you usually can talk with people who are also doing the challenges. So I encourage you to try one. Just make sure that you keep it simple. So I have an awesome surprise for you guys. Since this is a new year, I also thought it would be a perfect time to do a New Year giveaway. It's been a very long time since I've done one, so I'm super excited to do this for you. Due to the cost of shipping overseas and customs, this giveaway will be split into 2. If you live in the United States, then you have a chance to win a mystery box of books curated by me that will assist you in your 2019 reading goals. Again, you can win the box of books if you are in the United States. If you are living outside of the United States, I have a giveaway for you as well. One winner will get an ebook of the first book in one of my favorite and most enjoyable series that I've read in 2018. If you follow me on social media, then you likely already know what the book is. The only stipulation is that you must be able to receive an Amazon Kindle ebook gift. No exceptions. Head on over to shelfaddiction.com to find out how to enter the complete list of rules and more about what books 2 winners will get. There will be a raffle copter for the U.S. and international giveaways. The best part is that this giveaway is exclusively for you that listen to my podcast and read my blog. I will not be advertising about this giveaway. So if you read the blog or listen to the podcast, then you are ahead of the game. Good luck to everyone. Get excited. This is going to be an awesome year for the Shelf Addiction podcast because, as I mentioned earlier, in addition to the regular content, we have the new Shelf Bite feature and the nonfiction shelf feature. We will have more author and audiobook narrator interviews, as well as even more book discussions via the 3 Book Bloggers One Series read-along roundtable discussions and more one-on-one buddy reads that I will do throughout the year with different bloggers and reviewers. If you are all about the books and want to consume all things bookish, keep it tuned in right here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. Share this awesome podcast with other book lover friends. I would appreciate that so greatly. This is the year for book nerds everywhere to unite and get excited about book-related podcasts. If you'd like to know what other podcasts I'm working on this year, feel free to hop on over to shelfaddiction.com and you can find the other podcasts there. If you enjoy television and movies, then you'll definitely want to check those out as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And again, Happy New Year to you and yours. I will catch you guys next week. And until then, happy reading. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.